What we observe is not nature itself, but nature is subject to our method of questioning. So said the German physicist Werner Heisenberg, who was the first to grasp the uncertainty inherent in quantum physics. For those who think of science as a direct path to the truth about the world, this quote should be surprising, perhaps even upsetting. The questions science can't answer and hasn't answered yet. Such questions fall into two categories: questions that science cannot answer and questions that science has not yet answered. Science is a powerful tool, and since 1833, when the word scientist was first used, many people have doubted its ability to reveal the deepest secrets and truths of the material universe. For the most part, these people have been wrong. For example, science once generally accepted the theory of eugenics. In the first half of the 20th century, the theory of eugenics, which gathered a large number of adherents, meant the breeding of a human race through the culling of crippled and sick people and the reproduction of healthy individuals. Once popular not only among scientists but also among government leaders and philosophers, it led to the so-called final solution of Nazism and other genocidal atrocities. The fields of human evolutionary genetics and contemporary anthropology have not only proved eugenics to be completely false, but have also provided an enormous body of scientific evidence for the genetic unity of all racial groups. In the field of astronomy, while we once believed that the Earth functioned as the center of the known universe, we have shifted to the heliocentric model, and then to the growing realization that our little blue planet makes absolutely no claim to singularity or uniqueness. In another famous case, Albert Einstein, who initially believed in a static universe and wrote scientific papers trying to prove his claim, had to be convinced by scientist Edwin Hubble that the universe was actually expanding. Einstein called his original conclusion the greatest blunder of his entire scientific career. Despite its history of wrong conclusions, science dominates modern thought as it should. We have built an unprecedented civilization and body of knowledge, and we owe much of this to the advances made possible by science. If explored, you can find hundreds of questions that science has yet to answer. What is dark energy? Why do cats purr? How does gravity really work, and so on? But in this video, I'm going to focus more on the big questions that transcend the boundaries of scientific research. Why are we here? Let's start with the biggest fundamental question about our existence. Why are we here? We have all asked this question at least once in our lives. Why am I here? Every one of us wants to know the answer to this most basic human question. Why am I here? Has many forms. What is the meaning of life? What is my purpose in this existence, if I have one? What happens to me after I die? And so on. These important questions basically ask the same thing: why do I exist? There has never been and probably never will be a scientific answer to this question, because science has a defined domain, a limited scope. Science helps us to describe the world, and then we have to decide how to use that knowledge with a higher ethical, moral, and spiritual code of guidance. Science by definition limits itself to systematized knowledge of the physical world. Because of these limits, scientific insights can only take us so far. Moral judgments, aesthetic judgments, decisions about the applications of science, and conclusions about the supernatural are outside the realm of science. But this does not mean that these fields are unimportant. In fact, areas such as ethics, aesthetics, and religion fundamentally affect human societies and their interaction with science. Nor are these fields non-scientific. In fact, topics such as aesthetics, ethics, and theology are actively studied by philosophers, historians, and other scholars. However, the questions that arise in these fields are often unsolvable by science. Only the most rigid materialists believe that science can answer every human question. For materialists, matter and motion constitute reality. Those who base their philosophy of life on these terms believe that perception defines what is real, which means that everything else must be false. Of course, this is not science. It is a philosophical proposition, not the result of scientific reasoning. Since science, by definition, limits itself to the material dimensions of existence, its conclusions will inevitably be material in nature, which makes it a fallacy to believe that the material world encompasses everything that exists, and that humans can only perceive what our external senses can grasp. Man always aspires to higher and loftier goals. He is always trying to reach a world that transcends the world he lives in, and to rise 1 degree above the world he is in. This love of transcendence is one of the hallmarks of human beings. Most people want answers about the purpose and meaning of life. This is the essence of the question, why am I here? Materialists claim that there is no such answer, that everything beyond the physical is an illusion, that all meaning is reduced to mass and motion alone. But this is an extremely unsatisfying and even cruel philosophy. Few people want to live life from such a point of view. Instead, we desire a deep inner life filled with love, beauty, and meaning. Did the universe have a beginning? Many scientists now agree that the universe began with a Big Bang, an enormous expansion of matter and energy that occurred when an extremely dense and superheated singularity became the known universe. This cosmological model stems from tracing the ongoing expansion of the universe back 13.8 billion years to a time when all matter and energy could have emerged from an initial state of extreme density and temperature to which the laws of physics we know today do not apply. How can science see so far into the past? The Big Bang theory is still just a theory at this point, but it provides scientists with a comprehensive and convenient explanation for a range of observations and measurements that include light, heat, cosmic background radiation, and Hubble's law, the observation that the most distant galaxies are moving away from each other at their highest speed. The Big Bang theory makes sense when you consider one salient fact. We know that the distance between galaxies is increasing today, which should mean that galaxies were closer together in the past. But not every scientist believes in the Big Bang theory. First, the Big Bang cosmological model does not explain what caused energy, time, and space to actually exist. Instead, it explains the birth of our current universe from an ultra-dense and high-temperature initial state, beyond which scientists cannot see. Stephen Hawking believed that this state could have resulted from what he called an infinite proposition, in which time and space are finite, but have no boundaries or starting or ending points. Second, and perhaps more importantly, some famous scientists who study the beginning of the universe don't like the Big Bang theory because we can only infer, rather than prove, its existence. Nobel laureate in physics, Dr. Jim Peebles of Princeton University said he doesn't believe in the Big Bang theory because of the lack of concrete supporting evidence. It's very unfortunate to think that there was a beginning, when we don't have a good theory that there was a beginning. What was there before the Big Bang? If we accept the Big Bang as the beginning, this raises another question. What was there before the Big Bang? The theory of cosmic inflation, first developed in the 1980s by physicists such as Alan Guth, Alexei Starobinsky, Andrei Linde, and Katsuhiko Sato, expresses the concept of exponential expansion in the very early universe. Today, it is one of the leading ideas about what might have happened in the moments before the deep, ancient fire of the Big Bang. People have been creating origin stories ever since they started telling stories, and this is another iteration of that, says William H. Kinney, a professor of physics. But there is a twist to this story. If cosmic inflation accurately explains what happened before the Big Bang, it could put the ultimate answer to the question of where we came from beyond the reach of science. We know nothing about what happened before inflation. It's doubtful we'll ever know, Kinney says. One reason is that cosmic inflation is a big eraser. All traces of the initial conditions of how it started are erased by this exponential expansion. All traces of the conditions that led to inflation are erased by the inflation itself. Wherever it starts, it ends up in the same places. Are we alone in the universe? Another big question is, are we alone in the universe? Some might think that we are the only intelligent life form in the universe. If this is the case, the universe is unimaginably desolate. Other researchers say it's almost impossible for Earth to be the only center for life. There could be as many as 40 billion habitable planets in our galaxy alone. That means the potential for alien life is enormous. There are some necessary conditions for life to emerge. Not only does a planet need the right mix of elements and conditions, but there also needs to be a spark that allows living creatures to emerge. Then, of course, these creatures must somehow evolve into beings with intelligence. Even for modern human science, the simplest life forms on our planet are still an extremely complex soup of chemical reactions and cells. We don't really understand how they arise, evolve, and survive in an incredible variety of environmental conditions. This makes finding, identifying, and communicating with alien beings much more complicated. Despite all this, NASA has begun to make statements about alien life. If there really is no other life, then life here could be just a statistical aberration, an accident of the strangest kind, or a deliberate creation by a higher power. Perhaps this tiny, pale blue planet really is a jewel of the universe, unique and unlike anywhere else. Yet we know that water and similar gases and elements exist on many other planets. If we keep looking and find even the slightest evidence, such as fossilized remains or tiny bacteria, it seems more likely that somewhere beyond the stars, another species is looking up at the sky and contemplating potential neighbors somewhere in the universe. I'm not going to go into the details of extraterrestrial life for now, as I'll be making a comprehensive video about it in the future. I always need your support to make videos like this one, so now is the time to leave a like on the video. Where does consciousness come from? Let's come to another big question. Where does consciousness come from? We humans have an awareness of both our environment and ourselves. Our minds are filled with internal conversations and questions about who we are and our purpose in the world. As far as we know, we are the only living beings with this kind of active consciousness. And we have no idea where this consciousness comes from. Our brains are, of course, the central computers of our bodies that control biological functions and help us think our way through all the cycles and obstacles of life. Brain scans show how incredibly active our brains really are, vibrating with constant activity as 100 billion nerve cells fire non-stop like a compact but highly complex digital network. But the brain is not the mind. Electrical activity does not explain how a physical substance can create a non-physical state like consciousness. Some religions explain consciousness as a gift from God placed in our bodies to guide us in this world. Scientists are moving more towards biological origins. They see consciousness as a sum of biological processes that evolve towards more complex thinking and eventually result in self-awareness. Scientists have determined that animals such as dogs almost certainly have consciousness, but it is a lower or different level of awareness than that of humans. Consciousness is an internal state in which humans experience thoughts, feelings, awareness, and experiences. But there is no definitive and unified scientific view on exactly what consciousness is and where it comes from. How did life begin? One of the great and mysterious questions is, how did life begin? Our planet is full of trees, grasses, birds, and bees. It is also teeming with countless bacteria. All of these are life, and all reproduce to keep their own kind alive. But how did life start in the first place? How did a clump of cells evolve from an inert collection of organic molecules into a restless and sometimes even intelligent being? The short answer is, we don't know exactly how life originated. It's possible that aliens dropped a few microbes 4 billion years ago and left them to run wild. And of course, there are the creationist explanations of many religions for the origin of life. Many scientists think that life is a natural progression for planets that have the ingredients for biology: carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and other basic building blocks. With the right spark, a flash of lightning for example, these building blocks gradually turn into cell walls and DNA suitable for reproducible life. Researchers are constantly conducting such experiments in laboratories, hoping to zoom in on the formula for creating life. No matter how hard they try, it remains a mystery how these inanimate parts transform themselves into real living things. We may yet be ignorant of the properties that truly define life, or perhaps we are blind to the principles of physics that actually bring life into existence. Whatever the case, the search for the origin of life will undoubtedly continue for a long time to come. There are theories about how life began, such as prebiotic evolution, abiogenesis, the RNA world theory, the hydrothermal vent theory, and extraterrestrial life, but none of them provide conclusive evidence for the origin of life. The origin of life may remain a question we may never find the answer to. Is the universe really infinite? Another big question is the universe really infinite? When you look up on a dark night and see the countless stars scattered across the sky, it's easy to think that the universe is infinite. They are just beautiful decorations to behold. But science cannot yet tell us whether the universe is infinite or finite. As with everything else, researchers have their theories. After analyzing maps created by observations made with the Baryon Oscillation Spectrographic Survey, BOSS, a super powerful telescope in New Mexico, one group determined that the universe has an extremely flat floor plan. The research was based on observations of only 1.2 million galaxies, a drop in the universal bucket, but a strong hint that our universe is not spherical. But is this flatness infinite? It is impossible to say. One of the prevailing ideas is that the Big Bang caused the universe to expand continuously faster than the speed of light. Since we cannot see beyond the speed of light, we may never know if the universe has a limit. We will probably have to spend our lives wondering about the true nature of the size of the universe. It is a mystery like any other, brimming with a fascinating allure that haunts us, but never offers any real answers. Is reality real? And here we come to the last question. This question is, in my opinion, the biggest question one can ask. Is reality real? Reality is a slippery concept. Anyone who has ever woken up from a realistic nightmare knows what it's like to feel stuck somewhere between reality and a dream. These experiences support the idea that there are limitations to our senses. Perhaps our eyes, ears, and sense of smell don't tell the whole story about the reality around us. Maybe the things and people in our lives are just illusions. How do we know that these objects and creatures really exist? Perhaps they are fictions of our own internal mechanisms, created by our subconscious mind for unknown purposes. The universe could be a hologram, a Matrix-style computer product designed to trap our minds and enslave us for some nefarious purpose. Scientists and physicists are not sure we can understand the nature of reality. The deeper we go into physics, the stranger the mechanics of our universe become. From molecules to atoms, we keep discovering new particles and fundamental forces that drive our bodies and our world. It is entirely possible that the universe is composed of dozens or thousands of dimensions that we will never directly experience. It is unlikely that we will ever reach the end of the scientific rabbit hole we are digging. No matter how intelligent our collective species is, reality may always be an abstraction that we can never fully pin down. Throughout this video, we have explored the deepest secrets of the universe and the big questions that science cannot answer. Questions that we may never find the answers to. But pursuing and exploring these questions is part of being human. I'm the Dark Universe. See you in my next video. Take care. Goodbye.